Good afternoon. My name is Shahab Karmeli. I am, first of all, very happy to be here, to have the opportunity to discuss some thoughts. Can you hear? No.
A ver el micrófono ahorita.
Test.
Listo.
How's this? Oh, I hear myself. Again, I'm Shahab Karmeli. I am very happy to be here to share some thoughts and some ideas with people who are like-minded and have an interest in real estate, the real estate industry, design and architecture. When thinking about the subject of what we wanted to talk about today on behalf of myself and my team, and why the concept of introducing luxury in emerging markets. Now, the project that we specifically are here to talk about and represent, and we have a booth upstairs, which I would love for all of you to visit afterwards, is a project in the, on the Miami River in Miami. It's by Rafael Vignoli, who is a very well-known international architect. He's an Argentinian, Uruguayan, old friend of mine. And I'll discuss further how we came to choose Rafael. But why emerging markets? Why do we talk about emerging markets when we are discussing Miami? Because many would argue that Miami is part of the US. Is it an emerging market or not? So the definition of emerging markets, in the way we look at it, is new ideas, new qualities, new ways of thinking about how people should live or could live or can live, and new processes into established industries. When we look at Miami and when we first started studying the market for our first introduction to Miami, this is going to be our first project in Miami, looking at the city, deciding what is the right location for us, and what is it that we want to bring to Miami. And I looked at a city which is beautiful. It's a city which is internationally important and growing in stature and importance as we speak, for many obvious reasons which are known to you and are discussed. A city in which is developing a true downtown and a heart, which is Brickell and the river. And a city which was lacking in terms of existing infrastructure of buildings, existing infrastructure where people would like to live, the type of building that would normally exist in a city of this caliber and does exist in locations such as New York, or Shanghai, or the Gulf. So we took a step back and said, is Miami ready for the introduction of a new type of building, a new type of product, and a new way of thinking for this market? And there are many different factors that go into this decision. I won't bore you with all the obvious steps and the process, but the hallmark of introducing something which is unique and new in terms of our industry and in terms of living is it has to be a combination of design, aesthetics, programming, amenities, functionality, and design. The term luxury is a very overused term, like the term genius, the term best. And I doubt at this point there's anybody who says, I'm not doing a luxury product, or what I have is not luxury. But there are differentiators in every market, in every industry. There are differentiators as to what determines the definition of luxury, and that is a bar that moves. When I first moved to New York, that's me moving to New York. It was a big event for New York and for me. So when I first came to New York, and this was in the early 80s, late 70s, if there was an apartment building that had bathrooms that had marble tile that were 12 by 12, that was considered a marble bathroom, and it's a luxury bathroom because there was marble tile. Today, I would be hard-pressed to find a restaurant in New York City that doesn't have a marble bathroom. It means nothing. So these standards change and they evolve, and they also create their own markets. You introduce something which is an outlier, and people say it's too much, it's too soon, and then it becomes a standard by which everybody wants. And typically, today's luxury become tomorrow's necessities. So with all that in mind, you have to assemble a team that puts your vision. Success is hardly ever overnight, and success is never ever a single person. It's a team. We are the product of a team, and a team that is much larger than people typically acknowledge or even recognize to themselves. In a project like this, first and foremost, after your choice of location, your overall vision is who is the architect that is going to help bring this to life. And the selection of architect is very important if you're making a statement that's different, because architecture is not only about massing, it's not only about program, it's not only about aesthetics, it's a combination of all those, plus the restrictions of location, the restrictions of zoning, the restriction of price points, the restrictions of time. So we engaged in a rather extensive search process to find the correct architect for our building. Raphael Vignoli, who is a friend of mine, is also absolutely brilliant, is the person we ultimately chose. Now, why Raphael Vignoli, and why Raphael Vignoli within luxury? Luxury is as much about functionality as it is about aesthetics. It's a jacket that is beautiful, wears beautifully, but also doesn't get wet in the rain. It functions what it's supposed to do. Raphael Vignoli has a very extensive body of work within academia, whether it's government institutions, universities, or museums. And he has an equally impressive track record within the residential and commercial markets. So he's a multidisciplinary architect that brings a rigor of design and structure, a discipline of mind and programming to superb aesthetics. Every step of the way as we developed the program for this building, in keeping with what is the definition of something that ultimately you stand behind and say, this is luxury, is what is your color palette? What is your sense of design? How does your logo come about? Everything has to be thought through. So why One River Point? We talked about location. This is the only point on the Miami River which the river curves around and gives you an access of views along every angle into the bay, into the river, or Brickell City Center across. Why the logo that we just showed you? That was a working video, which we typically don't have in our presentations, but given the audience here, we thought it's interesting to see what is the thought process we engaged even in developing a logo. What does that mean? We wanted a project that had a certain amount of volume to it, because in order to have necessary amenities that are world-class, you need a certain critical mass to the size of a condominium project that you're developing. In order to have swimming pools, spas, gyms, and in order to be an iconic design, you need a certain critical mass. So, yet, you want to have a feeling of intimacy. So we took the original mass of the building and we divided it into two towers. These towers, as they divided up and went from one large mass into two very thin, elegant, see-through glass enclosed masses, also had to work with a design, because another definition of luxury is light and views and vistas. And luxury can mean different things to different people. My definition of luxury could be a great restaurant in the building, somebody else's could be security, somebody else's could be a view or finishes. All these points have to come together. These are actual images from units. We have, of course, sky drone photos. So every single apartment in this project, every single residential unit, regardless of floor, has unobstructed views. That's another definition of luxury. So Raphael, along with being one of the foremost architects of our generation, is also a concert pianist. And he is brilliant in that field. And through the process of discovery of what does this building want to be, and what does this site want it to be, he thinks about performance because buildings are forms of performance. The emotion that a building evokes when you look at it from afar, as you drive, your sense of arrival, your sense of valet, your entrance into the lobby, your entrance into the elevator, your arrival into your unit, whether it's a one-bedroom or a penthouse floor, your interaction with building staff, your arrival at the spa, your club upstairs. This is performance. The reason hotels that are rated 5-star work is because performance. If you go to a beautiful hotel that the service is bad, you're not going back. If you go to a hotel that's ugly but the service is good, you're not that impressed. It's an orchestrated performance. And an architecture, an orchestrated performance, is a marriage of vision, design, execution, and function. He called me in after going through something between 9 to 11 different iterations. He said, come to my office. And this is the first thing he showed me. He said, we are going to divide the buildings. And he's very famous for having these Japanese brush pens, where he just has an idea. This simple sketch, which became the basis of design, was 6 months of going back and forth and trying to think, what does this want to be, and what do we want it to be? Andy, the music on this is, you have volume on this. There should be volume with this. So this is him, and this is very unique. This is the building. And he does this sketch in one sitting. If you see where he starts his pen and where he finishes, this is after months of him thinking about this site, going down there with me, looking at different times, and he sits, when he showed me that first sketch, I said, tell me what you mean. He said, sit down, and I'm going to sketch it for you. I'm so impressed that I want to have a film of you actually going through this creative process. So we redid this to him. What he showed to me, I wanted to share, to see when there is a vision that comes, it's a vision that comes not in the 30 seconds or the 60 seconds here. This is months and months of thinking about what does this want to be. We talked about the team. Again, in order to create something which is unique and best in class, and it's making a statement, you need a team. And the team is the architect and the numerous individuals that support the architect, your structural engineer, mechanical engineer, cladding consultant, so on and so forth. After that, you look at design. So Raphael is about a Cartesian mind that thinks about performance of a building. He's technical, but he's not a lifestyle expert. So whereas he has great aesthetics and he has a great interior design team, he is not known for being a lifestyle guru. He's not known for being a designer. He's as much known about the biomedical center being built for the Rockefellers or the Cleveland Museum as he is about 432 Park Avenue, by the way, which is, I'm sure you're familiar with, is the tallest, most expensive residential building in the Western Hemisphere. And I'll go back to that again. So I wanted somebody with a very unique aesthetic touch that has not done anything similar to this before. Remy Tessier is a brilliant, brilliant designer whose forte, previous to this, has been designing of yachts, airplanes, and one-of-a-kind mansions. And I was familiar with his work and the passion and the rigor that he brings to this work. And he's a man that, whether you look at his business card or his brochures or his product, his own line of furniture, it is unique, it's passion, and it starts and ends with quality. He would not want to do a commercial project. I did not have to interview him. I knew I wanted him. I had to convince him that he wants me. And it took numerous meetings for him to meet with us and to meet with Raphael before he said, I will do a commercial project. I will agree to do my first commercial project. And I want to add, by the way, that Raphael has never done a residential project in Miami. We have an exclusive with Raphael, and this will be the building that he's doing in Miami residentially. Sasaki Architects. Landscape is a big part of tropical areas. One of the things I've found Interesting and disappointing about Miami is that if you look at Miami, which in my belief is going to be the Singapore of the Western Hemisphere, the climate should be presenting a city which is covered in foliage. When you go to Singapore and you drive around, that is exactly what they have achieved. We have the climate and the possibility to do that on a great scale in Miami. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened for many historic reasons. We, because of the fact that we are located in the only private gated park in downtown Miami. We have 3 parcels there with a total of close to 7 acres. We have an opportunity to create a private park which is fully landscaped. So from the moment you enter through private security gates into the park, it's a transformative sense, aesthetically speaking, of plants and water. So our criteria for choosing a landscape architect, which you normally don't need for an urban building, was somebody who has done a significant international project along a riverfront. Those were the only people we interviewed. Sasaki Associates, the firm originally was started in Japan, is set up by a very talented European group in Boston and Miami. And our directive to them was, do not look at the podium and throw a couple of plants there. I can do that. I'm an amateur gardener myself, believe it or not. Create a promenade, create a garden, create a sense of arrival as it exists in Southeast Asia, which has the same climate, but somehow we don't have it here. I don't know who here is familiar with Adrian Zecca. I'm sure among you there are people who are familiar with the Regent Hotel Group, with the Aman Group of hotels, and with GHM Hotels, which is Setai, that's the screensaver, that's not us, in Miami. Adrian Zecca is one of the world's leading hoteliers. He is probably among the 3 top lifestyle gurus of this generation. I encourage you to Google him. I used to live in Asia. I used to live in Thailand for a number of years. In the late 80s, I met him there. He's been a mentor to me. And one of the points he always made to me was, do not engage in tokenisms. If you're going to do a spa, either do a real spa or don't do a spa. If you're going to do a gym which is run by a professional group or don't do it. If you're going to have a podium restaurant, do not offer 50 items. Offer 5 items on the menu, but make sure those items are perfect. So Adrian also, who has never done, he's always done hotels, he's never done a private club, said, Adrian, I want to have this concept with you. He says, I don't do private clubs, I do hotels. I said, come and meet Raphael, come and see the project, come and see what I'm trying to get here. And he agreed to come on board. This is the first time Adrian is doing a non-hotel, privately curated lifestyle club for the building, and on top of the building, which is a private club, available to residents, and by invitation to outsiders. This is the location, and this is, So this is the site, the river. Why is it a point? It's the only point in the Miami River that looks down. And when I said that we're creating a park, all the green areas that you see here are owned by our group. And this is a multi-phase. And everything here is going to be part of the eventual visual texture of this entire private park. Here's a close-up of this. This is as it is today. And this is what it will be. Now, we own these sites. We're fully approved on these sites. So I want to emphasize again that whatever we're talking about in terms of ownership, in terms of approval, in terms of team selection and execution, we are past all those points. And this is a very important point to make in a market like Miami, where we have the reservation system, and people can say a lot of things, but there are disclosures and disclaimers on every image and every piece of promotional material that goes out. So quickly to give you a run-through of this, you have a sense of, we have a waterfall, which is 85 feet tall. Just to give you a sense of scale here. This waterfall cascades 85 feet down. You pull behind this waterfall in order to get to your apartment and to your lobby. You have apartments, and in these apartments, there is not a single apartment here that does not have a view. There are no back apartments here. There are no corridors. These are all private landings. It is all glass. There's a private club up top, that's the Sky Bridge over there. That private club is what Adrian will be running. And this private club has numerous features. I'm constrained for time because that can be a whole presentation by itself. But it has business amenities, med spa amenities, dining abilities, functions. And we separated completely from the building. So the elevators that come are separate, the lobby are separate, the parking is separate. So these are visuals of the building. So this is an actual model of the Miami downtown. So I'm sure you have often seen visuals of most of the projects in Miami where it seems that there's a science fiction movie where there was a nuclear blast and every building in Miami was flattened and this one building now stays up, which I find fascinating even though I've been looking at this for 2 years. We're in a city, there are buildings around us. We've modeled this, and we're a model. These are actual buildings as they exist. So we don't try to engage in this foolishness of saying, hey, look at my picture, there's nothing around me. What we do say, look at what's around us, and we happen to be in a point on the river where, in fact, even though there is a fabric density around us, which is part of the appeal of this location, visually, at every unit and every point of view, we're completely unimpeded. And this is very, very unique for this project. We're pulling away. So this is Biscayne Bay, coming into the Miami River, and this is Brickell Key, and up the Miami River to where the building is. This, by the way, I also want to add that this is in scale. So this is the tallest residential tower in Miami. This will be the tallest residential tower in Miami. I should say, with your help, this will be the tallest residential tower in Miami. So an aesthetics that has to work during the day and at night. We think about buildings during the day, but we actually, in residential buildings, we actually tend to consume our leisure time in our homes at evenings. So when there is a sense of design, where there's a choice of material, a lighting scheme, a functional scheme, you have to think equally about how does this work during the day and how does this work in the evening? How does the sense of lighting work? How does your interaction with your surrounding areas work? We always have, as developers, when it comes to choice of materials, what all really you want to use, but there is a budget. What the demands of the specific climate and the size of the building are, and what does the architect want to use in terms of performance without taking aesthetics into place. So every surface that we look at here, the sense of materials, whether it's the handle on the inside of the door, the stone, the glass, the tint, has been thought out to work as a unified whole. So engineers, designer, architect, and developer have to work together to develop a vocabulary that is a poem at the end. A sonnet comes from a combination of ideas. Same with our sense of landscape and our direction of what to create there. Do not engage in a tokenism. People put 5 palm trees, they say have a landscape. Landscapes are varied, and they have to work within your design and the way people will use your outdoor spaces. In tropical areas, if you don't have shade, people will not use those outdoor areas. List of building amenities. This is all, by the way, available on our website, and I encourage everybody, please, to visit our website. There's downloadable material, and much more that I can say in half an hour is available on the website. We have boat slippage. So there are marinas that are being built on the Miami River now that we have agreements with. So if there is somebody who lives there and wants us to do a concierge service for their boat or their car, we accommodate it, and it can be brought up to our boat slippage there for them to get on and get off. Promenade. Under Miami building code, you only have to set a building back 25 and then 50 feet. We have set back 90 feet because if you do not have width, you cannot create a promenade. If you don't create a promenade in which you have shade and you have a restaurant and a cafe, people will not use it. If people are not going to use it, why create it? Sense of arrival. For me, that is one of the, I remember when I was a child and we would travel to Europe and we would arrive to a hotel. One of the sense of wonder for me, which I have to this day, is when you first walk into that lobby and people come and greet you. It's not somebody greeting, it's their uniform, is the smell in the lobby, is the scale, So a sense of arrival, it's so important, and it seems to be lacking so strongly in many of the buildings that we look at. So the typical building is built with the podium at the ground. It's very inexpensive to start at the ground and go. But you cannot have a sense of arrival if in the hot tropical sun you're coming in front of a building. It's raining. So we cantilevered, we lifted this podium, and we created a waterfall that cascades in front of it. So you pull behind a waterfall, and a valet takes your car. And there are two lobbies because it's a bigger build. There are two smaller buildings within a larger footprint. So it's a sense of intimacy, scale, and service upon arrival. We talk about urban sophistication and urban resort living. The climate of Miami offers us an opportunity to, along with all the points that we're referring to, truly create a space that people can use as if they are in a hotel in an urban area. So we don't have one swimming pool, we have two swimming pools. The second swimming pool is a half Olympic regulation size, because if you're exercising and you're serious about your program, you need a lap pool in which you can exercise. And that's not a lap pool, that's a dog swing. Again, in the evening, it has also the function. And what is very important about this large pool, this is a very large pool, the sense of scale here, just to give you that small pool in the background is 75 feet long. The residents up there will be looking down at this podium. So this podium has to look exquisite at night, because that's part of the visual vocabulary and the experience that you're affording to your purchasers. Private club. This is a private club. I see the counter ticking. I'm just going to take you through the images of this private club, and whoever's interested, we can speak more extensively about what the private club is. These are all images from the private club. You see two residences up there. These are our sky villas. I wanted to create two residences that do not have a parallel anywhere else that I know of. So we took the top of the private club, we cut it open, and these are each two homes, 14,000 square feet each, so 1,300 square meters, 10,000 square foot outdoor area, a 50-foot swimming pool with private access. And we call these sky villas. They get managed by the club, and they're absolutely unique of anything that is existing in the market. We have a whole separate program for these units. These are visuals from the clubs, and again, we want to give people a chance to tailor to what they want. So within this program, with the larger units, you have the chance to create your own palette. It can be Vignoli, Raphael Vignoli, it can be Tessier, it can be Adrian Zecca, or it can be your own design team. The plantings that you see here is what I was referring to earlier about the fact that this is an all-inclusive private gated park, and the sense of aesthetics begins not when you get to the building, but when you come in through the private gated areas. So you see that work of art over there. Going back again to what is typical in our market, in which there are many visuals, which by the time you come to occupy mean nothing. So everything that I am showing you and everything that's on the website is what actually gets delivered. So that piece, that disc that you see here is from a very well-known British sculptor named Robert Haber. I have a smaller version of that disc in my own home in New York. So we were very, very careful to show what can be done and what can be delivered. This is from across the river, looking at our promenade and the activity at night. I will go through this quickly because these are unit plans and this is all available on the... One thing I want to point out to you, again, when you talk about luxury and use of space, a typical, if a balcony is less than 8 feet deep, you cannot use it. You cannot have a furniture plan. In order for an outdoor terrace to be part of an apartment and you have furniture in there, it has to be deep. These are 12 feet deep, deeper than anything in Miami. These are not terraces, these are outdoor living rooms. So these are private landings. This is one of the packages that comes through Remy Tessier because we want to give a choice of color palettes. We don't need to discuss brand identity, but again, we have been very, very thoughtful in how do we establish our brand, our color palette, and what does it mean.
Are we getting no audio here, guys? Yes, no? The counter is clicking, the time's clicking.
Look, I'm going to finish with this video here once I get the audio going or without it. I want to thank you all for listening to me. It must be exhausting as you're sitting on these panels all day long. I want to encourage you to visit us and look at what we have and draw your own conclusions from what we say we're hoping to accomplish.
Raise the volume, come on.
Thank you. Please visit us upstairs. Visit us in Miami. Douglas Elliman is our exclusive broker. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day.